Leeds Beckett University students and graduates to webinar 4, which is all about online tests. This is number 4 in our 8-part series. So all of our webinars are based on my best-selling book, From Learner to Earner, which you can see a copy of on the screen there. So you may join us for all 8 sessions or just the ones that are relevant to you. Either is fine. So some brief introductions before we get stuck into the content. So I'm Sophie, I'm MD here at SRS. We work with employers and universities within the graduate recruitment space. So for employers, we design their assessment processes and materials and help them to recruit their graduates. And for universities, we run assessment centre simulations and various other employability initiatives. As I mentioned before, I am the author of the book From Learner to Earner, which our series is based upon. And you can see there the various handles for my social media channels. So I'd love to connect with you on your preferred platform if we're not already connected. Helen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm the University Partnerships Manager for SRS, and I work alongside Sophie on these webinars, workshops and assessment centres that we deliver for students. Love to link in with you following this webinar. If you want any follow-up questions, please contact us on social media. I hope you find this webinar useful. Thank you.
Great, thanks Helen. And we are always joined by a special guest on our webinar series. Who have we got today, Helen?
So today we've got Conica Stones. Again, who's involved with lots of graduate recruitment over the years throughout the recruitment process, and she's going to share her insights with us on top tips for online tests.
Fantastic. Okay, well, Helen, you are running this session, so over to you.
Thanks, Sophie. So you'll see from the agenda that we're going to look at what types of online tests there are, what to expect, and how you can practice. So research from the Institute of Student Employers shows that 59% of graduate employers are using psychometric tests, which are all about the measurement of the mind. So they contribute to the overall evaluation of a candidate, providing objective and measurable data. Now the tests fall into 2 main categories: those associated with personality, situational judgment tests, and those that measure your ability. So, personality tests. The idea behind these is that it's possible to measure your personality traits by identifying how you would feel, think, or behave in a variety of different situations. Because remember, to be good at your job, it's not just about having knowledge and intelligence. Your motivation and morals will also have a significant effect on how you perform. And in most cases, personality tests are used to see if you'll be a good fit for the organisation and their culture. And these tests will usually include statements about ways of feeling or acting, and you'll be asked to respond to them. The number of questions can be anywhere from 50 up to 200. And let's take a look at some examples. So for this particular question, you're being asked to choose one statement that best describes you and one statement that least describes you. As an alternative here, you're being asked to rate how true this statement is in relation to yourself. Now, situational judgment tests are quite similar to personality tests in that they aim to see how you respond to different statements and scenarios. In particular, situational judgment tests, or SJTs as they're often referred to, will often present you with hypothetical workplace scenarios and a series of multiple choice questions to see how you would act in that situation. You're often judged on both the speed and quality of your answers. And they're aimed at discovering a wide range of skills, such as commercial awareness, for example, and as with all time tests, the ability to work under pressure. So in terms of how you can prepare for these types of tests, Some general top tips would be to stay true to your personality and your values, because this will mean your answers are consistent if you're tested again at a later stage. Also, by trying to guess what the employer is looking for, you might not get the right answers anyway, or the job might not turn out to be a good fit for you. Answer questions with an ethical and professional mindset. Take those questions seriously. And consider the role you're applying for, as it might be useful to have the organisation's behaviours and values in mind. Now, there are at least 5,000 aptitude and ability tests on the market. Some of them contain only one type of question, such as questions involving verbal or numerical reasoning, while others are made up of different types. They usually consist of multiple choice questions, and they're administered under exam conditions where they're strictly timed. A typical test might allow 30 minutes for approximately 30 questions. And let's have a look at some of the different variations. Verbal reasoning tests may include questions about spelling, grammar, and your ability to understand analogies and follow detailed written instructions. Employers use them to understand how well you can communicate. And here you can see an example on the screen there. Numerical ability tests include questions about basic arithmetic, number sequences, and simple mathematics. In management level tests, you'll often be presented with charts and graphs to interpret. These questions appear in most general aptitude tests because employers want some indication of your ability to use numbers, even if doing so isn't a major part of the job. Abstract reasoning tests have questions that measure your ability to identify the underlying logic of a pattern and then determine the solution. Because abstract reasoning ability is believed to be the best indicator of fluid intelligence and your ability to learn new things quickly, these types of questions are very commonly used by employers. And again, you can see an example there on the screen, asking you which of the following should be next in the sequence. Some other types of aptitude tests are as follows. So spatial ability tests include questions that measure your ability to manipulate shapes in 2 dimensions or to visualize 3-dimensional objects presented as 2-dimensional pictures. These questions aren't usually found in general aptitude tests unless the job specifically requires good spatial skills. Fault diagnosis tests are used to select technical personnel who need to be able to find and repair faults in electronic and mechanical systems. And as modern equipment becomes more dependent on electronic control systems and arguably more complex, the ability to approach problems logically to find the cause of the fault is going to become increasingly important. Data checking tests measure how quickly and accurately errors can be detected in data and are used to select candidates for clerical and data input jobs. A work sample test may be where a candidate is asked to do a sample of the work that's required in the job. This may involve exercises using a word processor or spreadsheet if the job is administrative, or it may involve giving a presentation or an in-tray exercise if the job is at management level. Mechanical reasoning tests are designed to assess your knowledge of physical and mechanical principles. The questions are used to select candidates for jobs such as those in the military, police force and fire services, as well as candidates for many craft, technical and engineering occupations. So how can you prepare for aptitude tests? Firstly, find out as much information as you can about the types of tests the organisation is using, and this may be available on their website. Carefully review the instructions as you should with all tests and exercises. Don't be tempted to cheat, as a lot of employers ask successful candidates to resit the tests when they attend an assessment centre. This way they can ensure that the scores add up and that the test results are accurate and true. Complete the tests on your own without help from friends and family. Remember, these tests are about your ability and not someone else's. Practice the different types of tests so that you're prepared for the different types and time yourself to recreate the same conditions as the real thing. We're now going to hear some final thoughts from Conica Stones, who supported a lot of graduate employers with their online recruitment process.
Hi there, so I am going to give you some top tips on how you can perform at your best when it comes to online tests. Top tip number 1, practice, practice, practice. So you can become familiar with the format and the style of the questioning. Because when you are in that timed test, knowing how a question is presented or laid back will mean that's one less thing to worry about. Top tip number 2 is when you practice, make sure you do so under timed conditions. You want to get the adrenaline going, get those butterflies going, just so you know how you react under pressure in that online test. Top tip number 3 is when you practice and when you do the online test, make sure you do so somewhere that's free of distractions. Somewhere quiet, somewhere where you're comfortable, and somewhere where you don't have your phone on. So make sure that phone is switched off, because the last thing you want is for that phone to go beep in the middle of your online test and distract you. My 4th top tip relates to working quickly but accurately. Read the question, look at the answers, pick the one that you feel is right. If you're not sure, don't spend lots of time on one question, move on. You can always come back to it at the end. And my 5th top tip relates more to situational judgment tests or work-based preference assessments. So with these, the best way to approach it is to read the question, have a think, and then answer the question as honestly as you can. The reason for this is the attributes that the employer is looking to assess will be asked through various different questions, worded in various different ways, but assessing the same attributes. So if you answer the question as honestly as you can, your natural working preference will come through. Above all else, be calm. Remember, the employer isn't trying to trip you up. They are simply looking to recruit the right and the best talent for the roles that they have to fill.
Thanks very much to Conica there. Just wanted to finish by looking at game-based assessments, which are the latest addition to online tests. So research has shown that gamers use a high degree of cognitive skills while playing video or smartphone games. And therefore, a lot of businesses have created versions of these games to provide more reliable tests of these abilities. And some of these abilities include problem solving, manipulating new information, and creative thinking. Now, there's some big advantages to this type of test. Firstly, it's thought to provide a more engaging and interactive experience for candidates, which brings out their natural strengths. Typically, at the end of the game, you'll also get automated and constructive feedback, which provides some very useful insights. Also, it's been shown that intelligent candidates can often compensate for a lack of work experience by doing really well in these tests, particularly as a number of roles will be based on fast-paced, high-tech environments that a lot of these games aim to simulate. So what's involved with these assessments? You'll usually be asked to complete a tailored set of fast-paced and secure games via an app on your phone or internet browser. The games can take a range of different formats. So I've actually come across an example, a game that was aimed at testing resilience, which is a skill that we talk a lot about in our webinars. The game had lots of levels that you had to progress through, and you could get really far, but if you failed one level, you had to go right back to the beginning. And the test was actually around how many times you persisted in starting again before you moved on to the next game. And I've got another example. So the following video is a short clip of a game created around a fictional business where you have to make quick decisions. And in this example, candidates download the assessment and complete up to 9 levels with a game-like interface. Okay, so just a short clip there to give you an idea of what some of these games can look like. Just wanted to finish by looking at some useful practice sites that you can access to explore some different types of tests. Now, these websites offer some free tests, but please bear in mind that there are some packages that you have to pay for. In some cases, your career service may have already set up a platform where you can practice these tests. They might already have a relationship in place with some of these organisations, so definitely speak to them first. And I just want to end by emphasising that important point around the need to practice these tests as much as possible, because in the recruitment process, you only get one chance at those tests, so make sure you know what to expect. And I'm going to hand you back to Sophie there to wrap up the webinar.
Thanks, Helen. I hope everyone has found all of that information useful. And here's what's coming up on the next session. So next time we will be looking at tackling telephone and video interviews. So we'll be covering what to expect, common mistakes that we see, and how to answer the most challenging questions. As always, we have a number of resources that we want to point you in the direction of, and the ones that we've got for this session on online tests are, again, as always, your careers service. We've got the online test practice websites that we referred to earlier, and we've also got a link there to an article that I wrote for HR Review magazine about the value of psychometrics. So thank you for your attention, and as I said before, I hope you found this session useful. If you're not already connected to us or to the career service over on social media, you can take your pick there for the various channels that we both have. So do connect with us on there. Thanks for your attention, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much.